that feel good? All right, sit down. Oh, like they say, the brain can only take in what this seat can tolerate. My name's Charlie Warren. Dr. Charlie Warren. I am your licensure officer. Think of it this way. You have been running a very long race. Okay? Round and round and round the oval. And now you're coming around the clubhouse turn, and there's the tape down there at the finish line that you're going to run through, right? I'm holding it. I'm the guy at the end. I'm the last signature you're going to need before you get a license. Okay? This stuff happens after your transcript, after all your program stuff. I'm that guy. But I'm going to talk a little bit about some other things too, because, and I know the camera's there, so I'm going to, I'm going to wander. Don't follow me. Okay. I was telling the group yesterday, I think about it sometimes. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been a science educator for 40 years. My first 6th graders turned 54 this year. What? How is that possible? It's creepy, right? I mean, I quit teaching when I started seeing my kids bring their kids to teacher conferences. Like, what? No. I've also been the state science consultant for the state of Ohio. I helped write their state curriculum. I also did the research and development and helped them develop the science content for their science proficiency test, which is used for graduation. And I've been a district curriculum coordinator. I've been a principal and a superintendent. So I've been a hiring manager. So I'm going to tell you a few things to give you some tips and tricks, because you really can blow it, okay? And you don't want to, okay? All right, first thing I want to show you, this website. And it's impossible to see, so I'll read it for you. It's cde.state.co.us. Got a PhD, so I got to be a data geek. But this is Colorado, and this is 2017, so you better be a data geek, right? Because we are in a data-driven teaching universe now, right? Okay, well, in your job search and with your schools, you are going to be involved every year, every month, collecting data, qualitative and quantitative, formative, summative, all of that stuff you've been hearing about is absolutely real. So where do you find data if you don't have a district yet? This website over here under SchoolView has all the data you would ever want to know on school districts, and right drilled down to school buildings. Okay, when you're thinking about your career and where you want to teach, you want to think about several really important things. One, am I comfortable in that school culture? How will you know? Well, if you've been student teaching in a school and they say, hey, will you just stay? We'll start paying you. How cool is that? Who's that happened to already? Had one yesterday. Good deal. Awesome. Congratulations. Student teachers get hired. They get hired. We had 14 of our special educators last December were hired before graduation. Student teaching is your first long job interview, right? You've been having a job interview for how many weeks is this now? Are we at week 8? 8 or 9? 7? Okay. So it continues. And then, depending on what you're doing, you want to think about, if you haven't got a job, where would I fit? How do you know? You need to do your research. Going into teacher employment days, you don't want to just scattershot it, because you might actually wind up in a job that you hate, with parents that make you completely nuts. Been there. Okay? Sometimes you can't avoid that. There's some things you like, some things you don't, but it's a culture. Please think of the school as a culture. get on their website, find photographs of events and parent meetings, and what do the faculty look like? Okay? Do you have enough tattoos and piercings to fit into their culture? Or none? Because depending on where you are, they all have dress codes. And some of it's wide open. You know, I was principal at Flagstaff Charter School in St. Vrain. And we started out, when I became assistant principal and then principal, we started out number 384 in the state. It only took 4 years working culturally to move us to number 1 in the state. And I should really write a book how I did it. But it wasn't me. It was me and the 22 people in my middle school staff. But we did it culturally. And we did it through a culture of positiveness and kindness. And when I interviewed you for a job when somebody left, what was I looking for? I didn't care about your praxis score, okay? You got a license, you got praxis, whatever. I want to know, are you a nice person? I'm going to ask you questions like, tell me about the last time you were angry. Tell me a story. Tell me about the hardest child you ever saved. Right? So those are interesting things. Now, in this website, you have the data center, the growth model, the district stuff. Focus on these top 2. Zoom into, let's see if I can get some out of the data center really fast while I'm talking. This data center, you can see over here on the right, has every school district and every school building in the state. So you can pull it up and you can see how they've done in reading, writing, math, everything the state tests. And you can kind of see how we're doing here. And what are the major correlates with school performance, truly? What correlates with high math scores? What are the big ones? Parent involvement's big. Oh, come on, don't be shy. Shout it out here. Parent wealth. Oh yeah, sorry, it just is. It's 25% of the variance. What else?
What, attendance?
Attendance is huge, and you can find it on here.
Socioeconomic background?
Absolutely, right? Okay, you're going to find things like suspension rates, average teacher salary, how many principals do they have? You're going to find all of this in this data. Dig down. So when they say, the 2 worst questions in a job interview are, the first one, tell me about yourself. What? What do you want to know? No, what? Have that one practiced. You know what's really kind of goofy but fun is get your 5 best friends and, I don't know, your favorite Diet Coke or whatever beverage you choose, and have a Saturday night and ask each other that question. It's super fun. Tell me about yourself. It's great. Because you need to do it in the time it would take to go up 1 escalator in the mall. That's how long you got. This is your escalator speech. Okay? Now the second question is usually the last one, which tells me a lot about you. Because I want to know that you want me. If I'm interviewing you, do you know anything about me? I'm going to ask you, what questions do you have for me? Well, you could say, because you've dug into here, well, I noticed on your Unified Improvement Plan that you're really focusing on reading this year. I'm a reading specialist, and I'd like to know, where would you plug me into that? Okay, you can't say that if you don't know it, right? So you've got to do your research. All right? Super, super important. Don't be flippant. Be professional. Use good English. Don't use street English. Okay? Don't end your sentences with a preposition. Where are you at? Ooh, makes my skin crawl, right? Because we're teachers in one of the most conservative professions there is, all right? Now, when you're being interviewed, you might get that first interview with district, and then they're going to put you on a list. Yes, principals, we want you to interview them. And then principals will call you. You might teach a micro lesson, which is, have you ever seen a micro lesson? Have you ever? Okay, this is fun. Yeah, we did these. Either teach this, and I want you to do it tomorrow. So I'm not going to tell you 2 weeks ahead how to prepare your ideal lesson. Or teach whatever you want, which is worse. Because it better be important, right? It better be really well done. And so you've got all these kids that you don't know. You get to teach them, and then there's a ring of people around the back watching you. Okay? So that's hard. That's hard. But it's a really good thing. And you might have a parent panel to talk to. Those are really fun. Does anybody know where Crestone, Colorado is? Crestone is down underneath Challenger Peak, down in the San Luis Valley at the top of the sand dunes. And it's a really unique community. Okay, when I came to Colorado, this is where I went to work, and I had a parent panel. What I learned going in there is it's also a major retreat center for 16 different religions from around the world. So I had to study up on Buddhism, and I had to study up on Hinduism, and study up on these things because I figured they'd be on the parent panel. They were. And I also found out that it's a great place for psychics. And I had 3 psychics on my panel. You know, I said, holy cow. Wait a minute, you already know what I'm going to say. It's like, not fair. That was funny. They thought it was funny. What a risk. But you might have a parent panel, and you're definitely going to get to know the principal. Because principals typically, they're not going to be the one who slides you the paper that says sign. The HR people do that. But they're usually the person who gets to do it. Many schools, are you in any schools where they have heavy teaming? Yeah? Yeah, teams will interview too. So those things are all there. But what's my back message on this? Do your research. So when you're going into, whether it's the CASPA one or the TED interview days or whatever it is, have 5 school districts and have them in order. And go in there thinking, you know what, I want to be at this school. By golly, that's my number 1. You just never know. And also think of it this way. Human resource people and hiring managers are people. They want to be wanted. And they don't like to be rejected. Okay? And worse, they don't want to be stiffed. This is one of the ugly things that happens sometimes that will hurt you. This is, ding, 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 this is how you blow it. If somebody offers you a job, but it's not your number 1, ask for a little time. Can I sleep on that? And then go back to the one you really want and say, it's okay to say, I have an offer, but I really want to teach at your place. You know, where are we in the process? 2 years ago, I was sitting on 2 offers. Well, if you accept one, your acceptance of that offer is good for a year. And if you pull out of that, this guy knows the guy that just hired you, and it might really foul the well, if you know what I mean. Okay? It's very unprofessional to withdraw an acceptance. It will hurt you in the long run. Okay? If you accept it, you've accepted it. Tell everybody else no. So accept wisely. All right? All right, now backing up a little bit.
So Dr. Warren, quick
Yes.
question. So
Yes.
it really is okay to say, if they offer you the job, can I have 24 hours to think about it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's a very professional move. Okay? When I went to my very first job fair back in '77, I walked out of there with 3 offers in hand. none of which I wanted. Houston, Texas. I was from upstate New York. Washington, D.C., and Detroit. Okay, they were like, they barely met me. They knew I was a science teacher, and they were like, here's a contract. And I asked for 24 hours, and I told them all no, I got something else. But that's totally fair and legal. The one major thing to think about in all of this, we have these Western values, right? What are the Western values we hold most near and dear in our communities? Oh, come on, it's not that hard. Punctuality is a good one. Yeah. If you say you're going to be there, be there. Right? Good fit.
Good faith.
Faith?
Say your words.
Yeah, your word is your bond, right? Okay? Honesty. Come on, right? If you say something, that's telling me your values. If you tell me that you've got a PhD in physical chemistry, you better be able to prove it, right? Because we're also in a world that's trust and verify, because they will. Okay, don't fib or exaggerate on your resume. It will hurt you, because they check. Okay, now before I get to the licensing thing, let me talk to you a little bit about the other back end of this hiring thing. Let's say that you came to me as principal on my district list. I called you. You came and taught a micro lesson. The 6th grade team was wowed by you. The parents are like, oh yeah, she'll do. And whatever, right? What is the principal going to do next? Because there's another major step. Anybody here ever been a hiring person? Hired people? Yeah, what did you do next? Absolutely. You need to have 5 references you can count on. And you need to coach them. Okay? Have a conversation with them. You should not get surprised by a reference. When somebody calls and say, you know, yeah, we really loved you, but one of your references was like, not cool. It's like, what? And I've had that. We were really high on this special ed teacher one time and called a reference, and the reference said, well, okay, but she has a real problem with absences. I was like, really? How many absences are you talking about? Well, 60. What? Now, they couldn't tell me why she was absent, because all that's kind of HIPAA stuff, right? She was absent. Now, when I call the reference, I'm going to ask the 2 deadly questions in referencing. Okay? One of them, pretty easy. If you had an opening right now, would you offer it to him? Would you hire him if you had a chance? Because I want to know if they really like you, if they would hire you. So when you're talking to your reference, if it's somebody like a principal or somebody like that, have that conversation. If they ask you this, how would you respond? Because you know I'd love for you to respond that you would, right? Have that conversation. The other question that they taught us all in reference checking school is, when I hire her, on what skill will I have to coach her the most or first? Because what I'm saying is, yeah, I like her. We're at this step. We're like talking, it's between her and him, and we're almost there. But now I'm asking about, what are your weaknesses? And it better not be classroom management.
I didn't tell him to say that.
I'm just telling you, that is magic, right? That's what it's all about. And so when you get through the references, you're going to get that phone call, and you're going to absolutely love it. And you know what? You don't know where it comes from. When I finished student teaching, I interviewed at 4 or 5 different places, and I started subbing at 5 different school districts. And then I got that phone call. It was a Thursday night. I will never forget it. I was boarding with an elderly couple. And, you know, I have my room and I can use the kitchen table from 5 to 6, you know, kind of boarding house kind of thing. And the phone rings, and we didn't have cell phones in '77. This was like on the wall with the cord. Hello, is this Charlie Warren? Yeah, right. Did you student teach in the biology class at Penfield High School? Yeah. Can you work tomorrow? Yeah. And that was the first 2 years of my career. And that was my interview. Because it was the hiring manager from West Irondequoit, where I had never even visited, but he lived in Penfield. His son was in my biology class where a student taught. The principal needed it, talked to the hiring manager. Hiring manager said, I heard about this guy, and he just called me and offered me the job. My interview was actually done by a 14-year-old. And I said, well, wait, yes, I can work tomorrow. What's the job? Well, we've got this 5th and 6th grade science and sex ed position. Yahoo. Insert your favorite imaginary story here. That was an exciting job, I can just tell you. You don't know where it's going to come from. You don't know what's going to happen. All right? All right, now let me back into licensure now. My actual job here, besides